The SpongeBob series has gotten a lot of video games in the last couple of decades, and Patrick is usually the best part of them. He's the goofy comic relief, yeah, but he also serves as that tanky character that's more fun to play as and wreck with. Now, this is a gaming channel, but Patrick's just as much of a gaming character as any Hedgehog or Plumber, so I wanted to walk through his role in every major SpongeBob console game and rank him from peak to Bleak. And if a Patrick ranking in the cartoons is more up your alley, you'll have to watch me do that on my brand new channel, Toon Tiers. That's right, as of the day this video premieres, I'm launching a second channel focused entirely on your favorite animated characters and series. And we've got 5 new videos dropping over the next week, so please head over there, hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned for some killer content in the near future. But back to the gaming side of Patrick Star. Super Sponge is the first home console SpongeBob game, released on the OG PlayStation. Now, Nicktoons Racing released a year prior and featured Patrick Star as a racer, but that's not exclusively a SpongeBob game, so I'm not counting it. The main objective here is to throw Patrick a sick birthday party and get him the greatest present ever, so SpongeBob travels across Bikini Bottom, platforming around and collecting items until he can give his buddy the best day ever. We only see Patrick twice though, once in the continue screen where he's all sad that no one showed up, and in the last cutscene where he's extremely thankful for SpongeBob's efforts. The events of the game only happen because of Patrick, but that doesn't mean he's contributing. He's not playable and is barely seen. He's just got one heck of a friend, so I think it's a pretty darn bleak look for him. Revenge of the Flying Dutchman is the first 3D SpongeBob game, and it once again only features the yellow dude as a playable character, but this time, Patrick's even less involved. The hub area does feature his house, and fixing the antenna on top of the joint is one of the easiest missions in the game, but beyond that, he's not relevant at all, so it's back-to-back Bleaks. Battle for Bikini Bottom is one of my favorite games of all time. It translates the world of SpongeBob to an open-world 3D platformer better than a licensed game has any right to. It's also the first game to feature multiple playable characters, including SpongeBob, Sandy, and Patrick Star, who's not the most fun to play as, but his abilities are crucial to navigating these worlds. So many puzzles require you to switch between characters, and Patrick specifically can belly slam and pick up and throw objects, which can activate faraway buttons or freeze water. He's not playable in every level though. He splits that sidekick role with Sandy, and only appears in about half of them, which is the only real flaw here. He does get a giant robot doppelganger for a boss fight, and socks are one of the game's main collectibles, but not being around for half the game does have its consequences. He's going right below peak as a great sidekick. And I didn't include the rehydrated remake because his role is the exact same. The SpongeBob SquarePants movie game was one of the first games I ever got, and from that cover art alone, you know Patrick standing on business. The story follows the events of the film, and being made by the same studio as the last entry, gameplay feels pretty similar, but now Sandy hits the chopping block and Patrick gets a couple new moves to compensate. He can now cartwheel, which makes movement so much faster than SpongeBob, and can swing from floating ice blocks with his tongue, kinda like Sandy did with her lasso, and these easily make him the most enjoyable to play as. He's usable in every level past the tutorial, escapes from Shell City with Neptune's crown, and is more capable than ever before at peak. Lights, Camera, Pants is a party game featuring SpongeBob and co., and it's got 30 different minigames that are playable as any of the 6 characters, including Patrick. There's no distinct movesets or abilities, so he's just as viable and important as any of these guys. Pretty darn average. Creature from the Krusty Krab is broken up into these chunks that are playable by a specific character. You get some SpongeBob, some Plankton, and some Patrick. Since the game takes place in these dream worlds, everything's pretty unique visually, and Patrick has the coolest art style, being inspired by comic books, and he's got this goofy superhero getup to top it off. Beautiful. The gameplay here's not that hard, and it plays pretty similar to what we're used to, only now he has this wind gust ability to activate fans and whatnot. This gameplay style goes away for a while to make room for the others, but it returns for the final boss, where Patrick takes on a giant Plankton and comes in mega clutch to save SpongeBob. There's also this Garbo flying segment that Patrick's piloting through, but we ain't talking about that. Considering this game's structure, this is about as much as he can do, and since he's the catalyst to stopping Plankton in the end, I'm gonna give this a boost into peak tier.
You could say Domino's new spicy chicken bacon ranch pizza is $9.99 when you mix and match. Or, you could just order it.
Switch to TurboTax and file your own taxes free in the app if you didn't file with us last year. Just file with TurboTax Do-It-Yourself by February 28th. Download now.
Atlantis Square Pantis was a terrible episode, but the game based on it isn't half bad. It's got 14 levels that alternate between being rhythm game clones, rail shooters, vehicle segments, and these 3D puzzle levels, which are definitely the highlight. You can play as SpongeBob, Sandy, Mr. Krabs, Squidward, and Patrick, who each have a unique trait, Patrick's once again being lifting and throwing, and you usually have access to 2 characters at a time, meaning Patrick isn't always there. It feels a lot like Lights Camera Pants. It's essentially another minigame compilation. This one just picks the characters for you, which doesn't pull them higher than average. SpongeBob's Truth or Square brings back the developers from Battle for Bikini Bottom, so gameplay's much more refined and has more direction than the previous few games. But SpongeBob's the only playable character, and Patrick gets demoted to power-up status. He appears in a couple levels to swing Spongy around like a hammer, and it does make taking down waves of enemies a lot easier. But then he also gets pissed off at SpongeBob for calling him Tubby, and somehow transforms into this giant robot for a boss fight, so that kinda mitigates any positives. At least the Patrick robot in Battle for Bikini Bottom was a plankton robot. This is Patrick, so it makes him pretty irredeemable. Bleak. SpongeBob's Boating Bash is your standard racing game, complete with a story mode where SpongeBob tries to pass Mrs. Puff's boating school, which is a pretty fun premise. Patrick's only playable in free play though, so his role's very limited. I'll be nice and go average inclusion. SpongeBob Squigglepants is one of the only WarioWare clones I've ever seen, and being built around a drawing tablet gives it some gimmicky gameplay ideas, which I like. That being the case though, none of these characters are all that useful, so Patrick's no exception. Plankton's Robotic Revenge features 5 playable characters, the same guys from Atlantis Square Pantis, and this time you can select any one of them and use them for the entirety of the game, or play in multiplayer the whole time and get to mix and match however you want. Patrick can be the sole hero and do all the heavy lifting, or he can be ignored and useless, so it balances out to be right around sidekick tier. SpongeBob Hero Pants takes the same approach as the last game, but now adds Plankton as a playable character. Each hero gets their own superhero form, where they get all buff and attack harder, but they don't differ from each other all that much, and it once again boils down to whoever you want to play as, so... The Cosmic Shake is a modern successor to Battle for Bikini Bottom, but only SpongeBob returns to a playable state. Patrick gets turned into a balloon and simply follows him around for the game. He's not worthless though. He tries to help SpongeBob navigate the world and even drops some panties for him when the HP gets low, but that's really the extent of it. It's great to see so much of the guy and hear the banter between the buddies, but his aid to the player ain't much, so I'll put him just barely out of Bleak. The Patrick Star game flew completely under my radar when it dropped, and there's probably a reason for that. It's not all that polished, even for a licensed kids game, but it's an open-ended sandbox game in Bikini Bottom that's entirely focused on Patrick, so the concept is frickin' rad. There's a bunch of minigames sprinkled around the world that offer some variety and endless possibilities to screw around with the Bikini Bottomites. It's far from the greatest SpongeBob game, but for Patrick, it's absolutely peak. SpongeBob Titans of the Tide just released, and it brings Patrick back to a playable role right alongside Cheesehead. Unlike previous games though, the character you're not playing as travels alongside you as you platform along, and can be switched to with the click of a button, which is awesome. It makes switching back and forth flow so nice, and unlocks a ton of potential for platforming, which the game fully takes advantage of. Patrick now has this grappling ability, and is able to burrow into the ground, which makes this one of his most unique movesets yet, and unquestionably peak. And there you have it. And please, go check out my Season 1 Patrick Star ranking that's on screen now, and don't forget to subscribe to that new channel. It really means a lot to me. I've been working super hard on the upcoming videos, and I've got some great ones coming very soon. Thank you so much for the support. I'll see you over there.